for taking out their precious time to listen to the talk, despite their prior engagements. I really hope that I am able to convey the message which I am going to with my talk, with my presentation today. So today I'm addressing this important issue in front of you all. Recent years की बात करें तो ये issue हमारे world में एक serious problem है. And with COVID-19 pandemic, the issue of forcibly displaced people has gained an additional urgency in the present times. So the topic of my today's talk is internal displacement in Africa. So just let's understand this in a very simple way. Imagine you have a friend who has to leave their home because of something dangerous or difficult happening in their area. This could be due to things like war, natural disasters, or any other problem. Now, if your friend has to move to a different part of the same country to find safety for a better life, that's what we call internal displacement. So they are not leaving the country, but they are still leaving their home and community. Think of it like this. You know how sometimes people move to a new city for a job or better opportunity. Well, in the case of internal displacement, it's more about leaving because of some kind of trouble or danger. या किसी के लिए भी एक problematic situation है और इसके पीछे अलग अलग reasons हैं. Sometimes people need to leave to protect themselves or their families, and it's important for us to understand and help those who go through this difficult experience. So, the term internal displacement describes the forced migration of individuals within their own nation as a result of a number of events, including natural catastrophes, armed conflicts, violence, violations of human rights, or developmental initiatives. So, this friend about whom we were talking, who had to leave their home because of a big problem like a war, natural disaster, or some other serious danger, they did not leave their country, but they had to move to a different part of the same country to stay safe. This person is known as internally displaced person, or IDP as we call it. So, United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, which is UNHCR, defines internally displaced people as those who have been displaced from their homeland but have not crossed a border to find safety. काफी ब्रीफली मैं एक आईडीपी इंटरनली डिस्प्लेस्ड पर्सन और एक रेफ्यूजी के बीच में डिफरेंस बताना चाहूंगी बिकॉज लोग समझते हैं कि ये दोनों सेम भी हो सकते हैं. IDPs stay inside their own nation in contrast to refugees who leave the refugees who leave across international borders in search of safety and shelter. For people displaced internally, there may have been serious difficulties ahead, such as losing their homes, means of support, and access to essential services. IDPs often face difficulties in securing adequate shelter, food, healthcare, and education, and they may be vulnerable to further risks such as exploitation, and they even face discrimination. जब हम अफ्रीका की बात करते हैं तो यहाँ पे डिस्प्लेसमेंट पैटर्न्स काफ़ी डाइवर्स और कॉम्प्लेक्स है जो कि इन्फ्लुएंस होता है एक कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ इकोनॉमिक सोशल पॉलिटिकल एंड एनवायरमेंटल फैक्टर्स से. Internal displacement can significantly impact the geographic dynamics of a country in various ways. Internal displacement काफ़ी हद तक एक country की population को भी affect करता है. Across many parts of Africa, conflict, political violence, climate change, and food insecurity are converging to forcibly displace more Africans than ever. That's what motivated me to choose this issue as my topic today. Since we read so much on Africa, this was a major crisis which is happening there. High inflation rates, rising energy costs, and repercussions from COVID-19 and the very recent Ukraine war, compound already complex situations. The number of forcibly displaced people, which includes internally displaced persons, asylum seekers, and refugees, surpassed 100 million globally in May 2022. ये डेटा मैंने IDMC, which is Internal Displacement Monitoring Center, से लिया है. Now, internal displacement is regarded as the new African dilemma. It has gained prominence over the problem of refugees that has haunted the African continent for years. ये इंटरनल डिस्प्लेसमेंट की इशू बिल्कुल रीसेंट की नहीं है, बल्कि काफ़ी दिन से हमें देखने और सुनने को मिल रही है. But various political and socio-economic factors have given the matter preference. अगर हम एरियाज की बात करें, अफ्रीका में जो सीरियस फोकल पॉइंट्स जिनको हम कह सकते हैं इंटरनल डिस्प्लेसमेंट के, वो इंक्लूड करता है हॉर्न ऑफ अफ्रीका, द ग्रेट लेक्स रीजन एंड ऑल्सो द सम पार्ट्स ऑफ वेस्टर्न एंड सदर्न अफ्रीका. Worldwide, the phenomenon of internal displacement by disasters show an increasing trend. This situation is particularly relevant for African countries where the effects of disasters related to climate change have shown a greater impact in recent decades. जब हम डिजास्टर्स से हुए कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस की बात करते हैं तो डेथ्स और इकोनॉमिक लॉसेस के साथ साथ ये देखना भी हमारे लिए इंपॉर्टेंट बन जाता है कि एक हाउस होल्ड को कितना डैमेज होता है. फर्स्टली, द सिचुएशन ऑफ पॉपुलेशन डिस्प्लेसमेंट caused by disasters must be distinguished from displacement caused by political or armed conflict situations. जब डिस्प्लेसमेंट किसी पॉलिटिकल या आर्म्ड कन्फ्लिक्ट के कारण हो तो वो प्रैक्टिकली लोगों को अपने घरों में लौटना अलाउ नहीं करता इन सम सिचुएशंस, जबकि डिजास्टर से हुए डिस्प्लेसमेंट्स एटलीस्ट इन थ्योरी allows people to return home once the natural threat has been subsided, although not all threats are treated in the same way. अब जब हमने डिस्प्लेसमेंट के कॉन्सेप्ट को थोड़ा समझ लिया है तो सबसे पहले ये सवाल जो हम सबके सामने आता है कि इंटरनल डिस्प्लेसमेंट होता क्यों है और किस रीजंस के वजह से है. सो गोइंग एज पर माय फर्स्ट ऑब्जेक्टिव, लेट मी टॉक अबाउट द कॉजेस ऑफ इंटरनल डिस्प्लेसमेंट इन अफ्रीका. Moving is a complicated and diverse decision that can be impacted by a number of push and pull factors. There are a number of factors that cause people's displacement inside the African continent. It's crucial to remember that different people have different motives for migrating and that individual motivations can differ as well. So, क्या challenges हैं जिसकी वजह से ये internal displacement होता आया है? सबसे पहले आता है economic challenge. Poverty, economic inequality, and lack of employment opportunities can force individuals and families to migrate internally in search of better economic prospects. हम सुनते आए हैं कि इतने सारे डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स चल रहे हैं डिफरेंट डिफरेंट कंट्रीज में. सो द डेवलपमेंटल प्रोजेक्ट्स add to this cause very much. The fact that development projects are usually located in remote villages, hills and forests means that those displaced tend to be the indigenous people जो वहाँ पे already रह रहे हैं, जो locals हैं, who have been the traditional agents of conservation. They have been conserving the area. वो वहाँ पे काफी ज्यादा एकत्रित होके रहते हैं, एकजुट होके रहते हैं. Here displacement has meant a loss of livelihood, habitat and assets, social disruption and disorder, and severance from an ecosystem which had sustained them. Instability and conflict is a very, very major cause of internal displacement. People may be compelled to leave their homes in quest of safety and security due to political turbulence, armed wars, and civil unrest. Discrimination, जो कि हम हर जगह देखते हैं. So the communities or people may be forced to flee their homes in order to avoid acts of violence, prejudice, or the fear of persecution due to ethnic, religious, or political persecution. Another very major cause is land rights and forced evictions. Land के ऊपर disputes होना, लोगों को forcefully उनके जमीन से निकाल देना, displacement cause करता है. Especially when vulnerable communities are pushed off their ancestral lands. Now let us look at the internal displacements in different countries of Africa. अफ्रीका में 55 कंट्रीज हैं प्रेजेंटली, और मैं यहाँ पर कुछ कंट्रीज के बारे में बात कर रही हूँ जहाँ पे इंटरनल डिस्प्लेसमेंट एक बड़ा चैलेंज है. इन ईस्ट अफ्रीका, द हॉर्न ऑफ अफ्रीका एंड ग्रेट लेक्स रीजन, 19.2 million people had fled their homes by the end of 2021. Causes are violence, droughts, and flooding. The region is suffering the worst drought in 40 years after five consecutive failed rainy seasons and faced a sixth in 2023. नवंबर 2022 तक ड्रॉट यानी सूखे ने 1.8 मिलियन लोगों को डिस्प्लेस कर दिया था इस रीजन में. Over 9 million livestock have died in Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia after four failed rainy seasons and record low crop yields. Many fleeing food insecurity seek refuge in other drought affected regions. अगर हम साउथ सूडान को देखें तो यहाँ लगातार चौथी बार फ्लड आया है और लोगों ने काफी सफर किया है. Over 2 million people are displaced due to flooding and ongoing conflict. In Southern Africa, 10.1 million people are displaced due to climate-linked disasters, drought, economic pressures, and insecurity. The Democratic Republic of Congo, long-standing conflict has created 5 million IDPs and 1 million refugees. Malawi is another country which is experiencing severe food scarcity linked to poverty and extreme weather. मोजाम्बिक में लगभग 1 मिलियन लोग डिस्प्लेस हुए हैं क्लाइमेट चेंज डिजास्टर्स एंड ऑलमोस्ट 1 मिलियन लोग इंटरनली डिस्प्लेस हुए हैं वहां पर क्योंकि क्लाइमेट का डिजास्टर तो है ही. बुर्किना फासो एक अफ्रीकन कंट्री है जहां की आईडीपी क्राइसिस सबसे फास्टेस्ट ग्रोइंग है पूरे वर्ल्ड में. So the next thing which I'm going to address here is experiences of people displaced in Africa. In Africa, internal displacement can result in a variety of difficult situations for the impacted individuals and communities. सबसे पहला जो हमारे लोग फेस करते हैं वो है psychological trauma. Losing loved ones, being uprooted against one's will, and violence face करना. These all can lead to psychological trauma. और आज के दिन में हम देख रहे हैं कि यह किस तरीके से हमारा mental health affect करता है. Loss of homes and opportunities is one another experience which every person faces. Houses, belongings, and sources of income are frequently taken from displaced people as a result of natural disasters, conflict, and other circumstances. Their well-being and financial security may be severely impacted by these laws. There is an increase in vulnerability to violence, abuse, and exploitation, which can result from displacement for both individuals and communities. और जेंडर बेस्ड वायलेंस एक अदर फॉर्म ऑफ एक्सप्लॉयटेशन है और वो काफी डेंजरस है स्पेशली वुमेन और चिल्ड्रन के लिए. लीगल स्टेटस एंड आइडेंटिफिकेशन को लेकर काफी प्रॉब्लम्स आती हैं. People who are displaced frequently run into problems with legal status, documentation, and right protection. Inadequate documentation may restrict one's ability to access opportunities and services. The process of return and reintegration can present difficulties even in cases where circumstances improve. When they return to communities that have changed while they have been gone, displaced people may find it difficult to restore their homes, regain their land, and then integrate. काफी लोग कभी भी ऐसा सिचुएशन फेस कर सकते हैं जहां पे वो घुल मिल नहीं पा रहे. Displaced persons suffer significantly high rates of mortality than the general population. उन पे physical attack का भी काफी high risk रहता है, along with sexual assault and abduction. And frequently they are deprived of adequate shelter. Internal displacement affects people's lives, safety, and well-being, but it can also limit their economic potential, leading to billions of dollars being lost each year and jeopardizing socio-economic development for entire country. The impacts are often most severe for girls, given displacement can exacerbate existing barriers to girls' education and increase their risks to violence and abuse. The consequences of displacement, if unaddressed, इस पे अगर ध्यान नहीं दिया जाए, can last for lifetime, especially when it interrupts education and limits future opportunities. Now I would like to show some country-wise picture in front of you. ये internal displacement का issue सिर्फ अफ्रीका में ही देखने को नहीं मिलता. It's not just Africa that we're talking about. There are other countries where the issue of internal displacement is quite serious. For example, at the end of 2022, 108.4 million people were displaced worldwide. और अगर हम रशिया की बात करें, this number reached the 100 million marks in the first half of 2022 due to the Russian aggression against Ukraine, जो हम सबने recent current में देखा है. The highest number ever recorded. This was the highest number ever recorded. This data I have taken from European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations. And what about the country we are living in? A very major example of the displacement that our country faced was the COVID pandemic, right? कितने लाख लोग कोविड के समय अपने घरों को छोड़ने पर मजबूर हुए थे, ये हम सब ने काफी बेहतर तरीके से जाना है. Other than this, India records some of the highest numbers of internal displacements in the world every year. The vast majority of them are triggered by disasters. According to IDMC report, between 2008 and 2022, 1.8 million cases of internal displacement have been recorded. India and Bangladesh started to experience flooding even before the official start of the monsoon season, which normally runs between mid-July to September. Internal displacement in India and Africa also shares some certain similarities, particularly in the context of underlying causes, patterns, and challenges faced by internally displaced populations. Both India and Africa and various countries experience internal displacement as a result of armed conflict, political violence, and communal tensions. इंडिया और अफ्रीका दोनों ही ऐसे रीजन्स हैं जो नेचुरल डिजास्टर्स के काफी प्रोन हैं, जैसे कि फ्लड्स, अर्थक्वेक, साइक्लोन, और इन सब की वजह से दोनों ही कंट्रीज की पॉपुलेशन डिस्प्लेसमेंट एक्सपीरियंस करती है हर साल. Interestingly, Pakistan had the highest number of disaster displacements in the world in 2022 at 8.16 million. इसका रीजन ये था कि 2022 में जब मॉनसून आई पाकिस्तान में तो एक्सट्रीम रेनफॉल ने उस साल का रिकॉर्ड ब्रेक किया that affected 33 million people across Pakistan. Floods triggered 8.16 million internal displacements, making it the world's largest disaster displacement event in the last 10 years. अब जब हम प्रॉब्लम्स की बात कर रहे हैं, हमने अभी तक देखा कि क्या प्रॉब्लम्स हैं, क्या एक्सपीरियंसेस हैं लोगों के, तो हर एक प्रॉब्लम सॉल्यूशन रिक्वायर करता है. So how can this issue be addressed? There is a need to adopt a conservation model. And we have to explore क्या alternatives हैं हमारे सामने. जो भी displaced लोग हैं, उनको क्या proper compensation मिल रहा है? जिस भी तरीके से वो displace हो रहे हैं, चाहे वो land की वजह से हो रहे हो, क्या उनको alternative land दिया जा रहा है? काफी केसेस में हमने देखा है कि डिस्प्लेसमेंट जब होता है तो अब्यूजिव टेक्निक्स यूज की जाती है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, अगर अफ्रीकन कंट्री तंजानिया की बात करें तो वहाँ पे एक ट्राइब है, मसाई ट्राइब. उनको जो वहाँ तंजानिया में एक नेशनल पार्क है जिसका नाम है सेरेंगेटी नेशनल पार्क, वो उसको एक एज अ डेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट को बिल्ड करने के लिए एंड डेवलप करने के लिए वहाँ के ट्राइब्स पे काफ़ी अब्यूजिव टैक्टिक्स अपनाया गया उनको डिस्प्लेस करने में. सो इस तरीके से उनके ना तो राइट्स सिक्योर होते हैं. सो देयर इज अ नीड टू प्रोटेक्ट द राइट्स, लाइवलीहुड्स एंड कल्चर. I would now like to talk about the durable solutions to this very serious problem. Achieving durable solutions is a challenge for all displaced people, whether they remained within their own country or crossed an international border in their flight. There is a need to adopt permanent safeguards against forced evictions. हर एक इंसान एक लॉन्ग टर्म सेफ्टी और सिक्योरिटी चाहता है. इंटरनली डिस्प्लेस्ड पीपल को एक बेसिक स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग प्रोवाइड करना एंड ऑल्सो इंक्लूडिंग इक्वल एक्सेस टू हाउसिंग, हेल्थ केयर एंड एजुकेशन can be one durable solution. Access to personal and other documentation, access to effective remedies and justice is the biggest need of the hour. The government should immediately stop its abusive tactics to displace communities where it is, implementing these tactics. Immediately, the humanitarian assistance and support to families should be provided. Meaningfully, you should consult and discuss with affected communities, including women and children. because they are the real sufferers. They'll tell you their stories, their experiences. उनके साथ एक्चुअली में क्या हो रहा है, ये उनसे बेहतर कोई नहीं बता पाएगा. Providing employment opportunities for internally displaced people is crucial for promoting their economic self sufficiency, rebuilding livelihoods, and facilitating their integration into host communities. There is a need to establish committees that would address the issue of internal displacement, both at national as well as international levels. As I said earlier, we should explore all the feasible alternatives, such as paying adequate compensation, providing rehabilitation facilities, and strengthen the laws that must provide justice to the sufferers of displacement. So, lastly, I would like to conclude my talk by saying that the displacement of people is caused by both developmental projects as well as due to climate based disasters. Every country in our world is experiencing this in any or the other way. The displaced people are found to face huge issues in terms of economic distress, socio-cultural losses, loss of traditional livelihood, and environmental loss are the main issues which are encountered by the displacement problem. Against these efforts to curb internal displacement are challenges that the African continent still faces. Most of them can be addressed through close cooperation and coordination between African leaders as well as the international communities and institutions. The attainment of durable solutions and other long term goals require more cooperation, funding, as well as political commitment, which is still immensely lacking, but it is not totally impossible to attain. So, with this, I would really like to thank each and everyone for listening to me patiently. And I really hope that I was able to convey my message. I was clear in whatever I had to give the message to everyone present here.
बहुत ही अच्छा इंफॉर्मेटिव टॉक रहा आपका अनुष्का, स्टार्टिंग फ्रॉम प्रॉब्लम टू सॉल्यूशंस. एंड if civilization is to survive, we must cultivate the science of human relationships, the ability of all people of all kinds to live together in the same world at peace. Thank you so much, Anushka, and congratulations. It was indeed a very good presentation. देन हमारे जो ऑडियंस है उनकी कुछ क्वेरीज, कुछ क्वेश्चंस हैं जो मैं आपके सामने रखूंगा. सो द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन इज फ्रॉम मिस्टर अजय गुप्ता. हाउ डू माइग्रेंट्स कंट्रीब्यूट टू द इकोनॉमीज ऑफ द होस्ट कम्युनिटीज, and what are the challenges of integrating large number of migrants into local economies?
Okay, so the first part, like how the migrants contribute to the economies of host communities. Migrants are often adaptable to different working conditions. Okay, migrants often fill gaps in the labor market by taking on jobs that are difficult to fill locally, especially in sectors such as agriculture, construction, healthcare, and services. Also, migrants bring diverse skill sets, I can say talents and experiences that can contribute to innovation and efficiency in various sectors of the economy. So that would be my answer for the first part. And what are the challenges of integrating such large number of migrants into local economies? Would be that integrating a large number of migrants into local economies can present various challenges. Absolutely, migrants may experience wage disparities. There is a gap. There is a inequality in wage distribution, uh, and there is low wage jobs also which are given to these migrants. So ये एक income disparity हमें देखने को मिलती है. Sometimes there is an issue of skill mismatch also. Some people might not do the same job as other people are doing with the same skill set, and migrants may possess skills that do not align with the demands of the local labor market, leading to underemployment, which is a big issue.
Very well answered, Anushka. And the second question from Shailendra Rathod. How do internal conflicts often have hidden drivers beyond ethnic tensions, often linked to access to resources or political corruption? How can we address these underlying issues to prevent further displacement?
Okay, I would like to hear this question once again.
Uh, how do internal conflicts often have hidden drivers beyond ethnic tensions, often linked to access to resources or political corruptions? And how can we address these underlying issues to prevent further displacement?
Okay, access to resources and political corruption are two such hidden drivers that can contribute to rise in internal conflicts. In many cases, internal conflicts are fueled by economic disparities and competition for limited resources. The competition arises for limited resources. If certain groups feel marginalized or excluded from economic opportunities, it can lead to grievances and tensions. Corruption within political systems can lead to the diversion of resources away from public services and equitable development. So, I believe that in areas with a history of conflict, understanding and solving these underlying causes is essential to establishing long term peace and stability in any society. And
Okay.
yeah, there was a second part to this question, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
How can we address the issues, right?
Yes, how can we address these issues to prevent further displacement?
So, addressing issues to internal displacement requires a sustained and collaborative effort from various governmental and non governmental organizations, international institutions, and local communities. One very interesting thing that investing in sustainable economic development to create job opportunities and reduce poverty has been a recent focus of Africa in achieving these 17 sustainable development goals. So this is what I have read in the recent times. Another important need of the hour is to implement and enforce the laws appropriately that prevent discrimination and ensure the rights of internally displaced persons. As far as Africa is concerned, according to my recent knowledge, the African nations have engaged with regional organizations as well, such as East African Community and African Union, and international partners to address the issue and address it at regional and continental level.
Nicely answered, Anushka. And there is one more question from Samriti that how do internal migration and displacement challenge existing governance structure and policy framework in African countries?
Uh, okay. The diverse nature of these displacements or migrations, including rural to urban or urban to rural, conflict induced displacement, and environmental problems, these can strain institutions and policies that may not be adequately equipped to address the complexities of population mobility. It can be difficult for governments to provide enough housing or other facilities such as healthcare and education for expanding urban population when internal reallocation is concerned. In Africa, internal conflicts and violence have led to displacement within countries, placing pressure on governments and local authorities to manage this crisis, to provide shelter and address the security concerns.
ओके, थैंक यू अनुष्का, आपने मतलब बहुत अच्छे से सारे क्वेश्चंस के आंसर किए. आई होप कि जो हमारी ऑडियंस है उनकी जो क्वेरीज थी वो क्लियर हो गई होंगी. एंड देयर इज वन मोर क्वेश्चन जो कि हम हमारे जो सारे स्पीकर्स होते हैं उनको पूछते हैं. एंड द क्वेश्चन इज हाउ वाज योर एक्सपीरियंस ऑन जीएसटीएस? आपका जीएसटीएस के साथ एक्सपीरियंस कैसा रहा?
Honestly speaking, I wanted to be the part of this platform since a very long time, but I had other educational boundings on me because of which I was not ready to appear on the platform. But when I got the opportunity, I was very much thrilled and did not want to leave this opportunity. And I thank the whole GSTS team, all the moderators who have helped me in this past week in coordinating and how and explaining how this platform works. I have been a subscriber of your channel. So I keep watching your videos, how the people present themselves and how informative their talks are, and we are getting informed in return about various issues. So I really appreciate the whole GSTS team, and without Manish sir, this would not have been possible for me to have this confidence to just speak on this platform. And thank you everyone for always helping, and thank you sir for guiding me at each step.
Thank you so much, Anushka. It's a pleasure to have you here on this platform, and thank you for subscribing us. And after this, before inviting our guest of honor, I would like to invite Professor Monica Saxena ma'am for her quick remarks.
Yes, good evening. Hello.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, good evening. I really like this graduate scholars series talk. I've attended few of them earlier, but especially Anushka was my student at the undergraduate level, and I've been hearing a lot about Dr. Manish from her, and it's very nice that she also had this paper at the undergraduate level where she was reading a paper on Africa. So I'm really happy the way she was able to bring in all the arguments and the way she was able to connect about these issues that she addressed today with her focus of her undergraduate studies, and now she's pursuing higher studies. I am extremely thankful for that I'm being associated with these series where you get to know about many areas which have been completely unexplored. So Africa is not my area of specialization, but I really liked the way she put in her arguments and the way she was able to answer very convincingly on the basis of her sources and on the basis of how she was able to trace the trajectory of the issues of migrations, diaspora, displacement. And I think Dr. Manish, you are doing a wonderful job by connecting students from different backgrounds in the University of Delhi, where they are able to put in their arguments very effectively. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for your love and support. Now, I would like to call Dr. Manish Karamwa for his final remarks on this talk.
Okay, thank you, Manthan. Okay, thank you, Manthan, for inviting me again because today, what I thought earlier that I would invite some other guest of honor, but Saturday I thought that I'm the one of the right person to interact with or talk about the internal displacement, and so I'm here in the two capacities right now. One is the guest of honor, and thank you GSTS and my um, former college, Shyam Lal College, for inviting me for the first time as a guest of honor. Though I'm working since 7th January 2021 as a moderator, as a founder of this platform. So really, it's a homecoming again, and again we are going to move 150th. This is really remarkable journey. लगता है कि अभी जस्ट हमने 50th टॉक पूरा किया था और 52nd टॉक where one of my former students from my college, the former president, I just forgot her name. Sorry, this is my habit to forget some names right now. Subham, the former president, Archana. So now I'm going to thank Dr. Professor Monica Saxena ma'am for coming here and giving us a wonderful student. And this is the very interesting how educational system is going on, because Ramjas College is one of few colleges where the history of Africa taught by so many years, and now there are 4 or 5 colleges offering this paper, History of Africa. In my graduation time also, the paper was floated by my teachers, but nobody was there to took that paper. But thank you, Ramjas College and the other colleges where the my student, that means the departmental student, went as a regular faculty, and they offering the History of Africa. So this is the and this is the platform where today I'm going to, or Anushka talked about the internal displacement. So really, it's a very interesting topic to hear about internal displacement. Interesting in the sense that the displacement is not a new phenomena, and Anushka portray each and everything very amicably when we discussed much before this talk during our classes and during our interaction, because I'm thankful that Anushka is going to be my PhD student, though right now he's in between his undergraduate and the admission the PhD. That's why I put postgraduate scholar. So it's really thrilling for me that Anushka is going to work on certain topics, but the topic was not internal displacement, though her research attributes are very fine, though needs to be rectify something. But thank you, Anushka, for giving us a wonderful information about the internal displaced person and why she had included the Pakistan and India, because and it is a bit awkward that we are talking about the Africa. So in between the conversation, we just advised her, because make it very easy, make it very light, because these issues, these internal migration issues are very depressing and discouraging on one sort. So we had suggested Anushka to incorporate the so many interesting ideas also. So if we talk about the internal displacement per se, so this is not the new phenomena in the world or in the India, because we had the Indus Valley civilization, etc. And before this, we everybody knows about how people from lower Gangetic plain to middle Gangetic plain to the upper Gangetic plain. So the displacement and all these are not very new for the Mother Earth Africa and the diverse portion from Africa, and we build India, because everybody knows that the Pangea, the concept of Pangea, where Africa was the mother continent, and through the plate tectonic and so many regions, the Africa got diverted, India got diverted from the Africa. That's why the eastern and western part of Indian Africa is a very good connect still. So, and not only sub-Saharan Africa, Middle East and the Northern Africa, East Asia, the Pacific, South Asia, the Americas, Europe, and Central Asia. So every continent, every area having this much internal displaced person. If I make some data or some data by IDMC, just Anushka reiterated the same thing. Like if we sub-Saharan Africa, 16.5 million people got internally displaced, and conflict and violence 9 millions, by disaster 7.4 million. If you talk about the Middle East and Northern Africa, 7,000 87 78.7 thousand people are got displaced. Okay, if you talk about the East Asia and the Pacific, 11.3 million people got internally displaced. If you talk about the South Asia, 12.6 million. If we talk about the America, 2.6 million. If you talk about the Europe and Central Africa, 17.2 million people got internally displaced people by the conflict, by the violence, and the Anushka portrays so many ideas about the drought, famine, etc., etc. But my central question is this: why it is a big issue? Okay, why the internally displaced person is a big issue? Suppose that if a person displaced from Kashmir to Delhi. So this is my idea because I'm a history student. I'm not an international relations student. So I'm not going to live in very realism. हम लोग इमोशंस से भी जीते हैं हिस्ट्री पढ़ाते हुए. So why we talk them to internally displaced people? One meeting with the Niti Aayog, because the African Union become the part of G20, they invited me to give a brief interjection there. So same question I posed or I before them also. And in Africa, the internal displacement was a pattern and is a pattern. Sometimes they cross the border unknowingly, because everybody knows that the Africa, most of the Africa, they believe in the modern tribalism. So if they believe in the modern tribalism, modern tribal system, so in the modern tribal what they used to believe the modernity, but the some old traditional ideas inherited in itself. So they knowingly or unknowingly they cross the border, and now IDMC data included all those ideas, all those migrations also. So my objection is there because we in India or in the African studies we believe on the secondary data. So we have to uh, uh, rephrase or research about what going in actually in Africa. So, and the whole approach that IDMC or European Union or whatsoever African Union is adopting, that the Eurocentric approach to the studies of Africa. So my department and me always what we are bothering that we inculcate a new idea, what is called the Afrocentric, that we look into the idea that where the internal displacement may be the number down by 50% if we connect the things amicably. So this is the further scholars, because I'm looking of some of you scholars from my department also to work on this all this, because there are this is the data where 17.2 million people from Europe and Central Africa and Sub-Saharan Africa 16.5 million people. So which is the greater number, whether 16.5 million or 17.2 million number? And Africa, we are creating big hype in Africa for everything. If switch up the television, what we saw, BBC, CNN, every time what we saw, that you are looking what, that everything happened in Africa, not in Europe, but here number sometimes gives us a very true validity that 72.2 million people internally displaced in the Europe and Central Asia, and Africa less than that. So this is the simple argument about all these things, and emotionally we think why conflicts. So the second point, why internal displacements and why conflict, whether which is in India or in the Africa or any European country. So we need a very robust mechanism to stop all those conflicts. So with these ideas, because yes, I'm not taking lecture. I not took lecture in the morning, so I'm not going to on and on. So I think this is some of my idea. Look Africa into Afrocentric ways, and these are the data which gather from the Eurocentric approach. So we need the first-hand information, and for the first-hand information, we have to go to that location, the primary data we can accept, and also for the research we can compare different data portals also. So this is one quick remark to my research scholars. So compare the data between amongst the different portal. But Anushka, it's a fantastic. You worked very fantastic. I know the last 10 days were very hectic to you, and the coming days also very hectic to you also. So, but thank you very much for you join this. Platform and give us a very wonderful idea about the internal displays. But why conflict? I end my this the first idea. Why conflict? We have to stop the conflict, and we will if we. And the very simple example in India also the people in Delhi, they used to different Punjabis, just Urias, and after the caste and subcaste. In this way, we cannot going to stop internal migration. People in the upper caste, because I'm also attached with the history, so people from upper caste, they are not doing seminal job in their village, but when they came to Delhi, they are doing each kind of work. So sometimes I ask them why. So what गांव में तो हम ऊंचे जाति के हम ऐसा काम नहीं कर सकते हैं लेकिन शहर में हम ऐसा काम कर सकते हैं. So this is a very small example, and how we link to the and this small example what aggravate to the big examples, like वो अफ्रीका का है, वो चाइना का है, और वो यहाँ का है. So basically we stop conflict to address this internally displaced ideas. So I think it's enough. Shubham, as a guest of honor, I think so.
No, no, sir. You can go ahead.
No,
It's
it's
all
fine,
right.
it's fine. Okay, so my other, because today I'm going to do two jobs. First is guest of honor, second is the vote of thanks for. So now I switch off the second parameter that I'm going to give vote of thanks to each and everyone, and thank you very much. Yes, Mala, Dr. Mala, if you want to say something.
Good evening, Manishji.
Oh, Mala ma'am, yeah, see ma'am.
Congratulations, Anushka, and congratulations, Team GSTS. A complaint hai. I've been trying to join for some weeks, but I was not permitted in. तो आपका इनविटेशन हर हफ्ते आता है.
No,
इस
ma'am, it's
बार मुझे परमिशन मिल गया, so I attended this.
no, and she's Professor Mala from Bharti College, Department of Commerce. No, ma'am, but we never deny anyone. Huh?
Maybe
It's a,
I don't know. There was some technical glitch. I used to wait for some time and I was not permitted. So then I left trying. But this time again I tried and I was allowed. So I'm here.
No. I'm really. It's my bad that we are not going to enter you, but I don't think so.
Hats
This
off
was
to your efforts. I just appreciate them so much. एक तो अनुष्का को आज सुना and it was a wonderful information that I gathered, and the entire GSTS team. Their commitment is extraordinary.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Mala ma'am. It's really commendable that you came and you have stopped us and interfere. And thank you very much, ma'am. And if you want to say something, so we welcome you.
नहीं सर, आप वोट ऑफ थैंक्स कीजिए, टाइम हो रहा है.
Yes, 6 o'clock हो रहा है क्योंकि we are at the time 5 to 6. So because these days the GSTS moderator has little bit busy because busy not in other ways because examination. That's why I took these two ideas at the guest of honor and the vote of thanks. So Anushka, wonderful, and I'm really really honored that you are going to join Department of African Studies. So thank you very much as a PhD scholar. Result already aa chuka hai, so it's really nice. Okay, and few of my colleagues also, Rajesh, Dr. Rajesh is watching us from Dayal Singh College, Akriti, Rakesh, another Rakesh from Samnal Evening College, Manish, Monica ma'am तो हैं ही, जितने लोग दिख रहे हैं उनको thank you for joining. So start with the moderator Manthan. Manthan right now he's in Pune. No, he's in Delhi, and the Manthan is the person who is going to give us 150th GSTS, and this is again my duty to introduce his topic, and his topic is Bridge South, a concept this time emerging from everywhere. Bridge South. That means how we connect northern and southern part. Just again, this is the Eurocentric approach that India is divided into the north and south through the Vindhyas. Yes, that was the natural division, but in the 150th talk, we are going to try to unite intellectually India from the north to south. We are not going to destroy, or we are not going to erase the Vindhya range, but through intellectual deliberaties, intellectual ideas, we can conquer the Vindhya, and we move from the north to the south. This is the right time to address this issue. Ayodhya is another issue, but this is another issue. So someday we also talk on Ayodhya also. But in the 150th session, we are going to talk about the bridge, connecting bridge. So I request to everyone kindly join, and that session will be a little bit longer, 90-minute session. So I request everyone to kindly join that session and grace my students and their courage to continue 150th session. That means, and without any break. So this is commendable. कैप्टन और लीडर तो बहुत होते हैं, लेकिन वैसे सोल्जर्स और कमांडर्स भी चाहिए. So thank you, GSTS team, to wonderful initiative, and we are here in the continuous third year. And Anushka, thank you very much. So starting with the Manthan, thank you, Manthan, for wonderful depiction of your ideas in Hindi and English. Manthan is a Hindi honors student, but he's from the boundary of Karnataka and Andhra, Karnataka and Maharashtra. Okay, and Anushka, again, thank you very much
Thank you so much.
for joining us and giving us a brilliant idea. And this whole platform gives union of three things: your alma mater, Ramjas College; your department in the first floor, Department of History; and my department, Department of African Studies. So this is again a re-arrival of Department of African Studies through the Anushka Srivastav's talk on the internal displacement. I'm not coming arrival because Africa arrived long back. People are neglecting Africa from time immemorial. So through the small step by Anushka, thank you, Anushka, and thank you my graduate students from Shyam Lal College, my postgraduate students from the different colleges, my MPhil students, and my PhD students from the different colleges. They are joined here and give us a boost to move 150th. And I'm looking my former college colleague Ajay, Rakesh, Akriti, and the super senior Pramod sir is here. So thank you everyone. And I'm looking the Professor Monica Saxena is also here. And I'm a bit unfortunate that the Dr. Vikas Verma is not here because he's my good friend and the senior. But somehow he missed because earlier he didn't have mobile phone. So maybe Anushka did not connect. But right now I know he has mobile phone. So although it's fine, and thank you very much. It's ticking at 6 o'clock. So again, and kindly join, not in numbers, through your heart, in the GSTS 150th, and the talk given by Manthan. Manthan, पूरा नाम क्या है मंथन?
Sir, Manthan Tarle.
Manthan Tarle, yes. Manthan Tarle, and the connecting bridge. So thank you very much. Have a nice day. And really, this gives me whole week's energy in this 5 to 6, and more than at a good coffee or two in the evening. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, and thank you. So, former president, can we leave?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
It was
much.
a pleasure. It was an honor to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.